Hello, my name is Franklin Castillo. In this lecture, we are going to continue our work on the Contoso University application. We're going to be working on migrations, data modeling, and data storage. In this lecture, we are going to implement several of the tutorials in the Contoso University application. We're going to be working through tutorials that are going to allow us to perform data migrations, data modeling. Specifically, we're going to implement several of the other entities related to the application. Last lecture, we implemented the courses, and now we're going to focus on things like enrollments, instructors, courses, and so forth. We're also going to read and update related data. And lastly, we're going to implement some code that's going to allow us to read data and seed our database from an XML file. We'll begin with the migrations tutorial. Okay, we're going to continue by setting up the Entity Framework Core migrations. And the first step here is that we're going to go into our NuGet Package Manager and open up the Manager console. The first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to drop the database. And to do that, I'm going to type drop database with a hyphen, and I'm just going to let that run. Then I'm going to press A for yes to all. The next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to add the initial create migration. So we'll do add migration initial create, and then we'll let that run, and then we'll do update database, and we're just going to let that run. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to program.cs, and we're going to delete, or I think in my case I'm just going to comment out this line context.database.ensureCreated, and that's going to be inside of this using block. And the reason why we are getting rid of it is because generally ensureCreated tells Entity Framework Core to create the database as well as the tables directly from our model, assuming that nothing exists, and then it'll stop. So it doesn't really record any migrations in the migrations history table, so that databases can't really accept real migrations later on whenever we move on to actually deploying our application and making it live. So just understand that this method call is mainly used for facilitating quick testing and for prototyping. So if let's assume that you're expecting to be dropping and recreating databases often, that's why you would want to keep this command in here. But because we are going to be going on with a different implementation, we comment it out. And I think right now what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to run the application to ensure that everything is running correctly. Okay, so let's go to students. We have 3 here that we can see. So we got pagination, and all of that seems to be working as expected. Let's look for Lee. Yes, so Lee is there. Nino Oliveto is there. So we are good to move forward. So with this, we're done with the migration portion of the tutorial, and we can move on to the next step. Next up, we'll discuss how to make the various data models for our application. Now, let me turn my attention to the tutorial, and I just want to illustrate the model for this application. So you can see that we have different entities. We have students, instructors, departments, we have enrollments, and we have courses. Okay, and we can see that obviously we have the different primary keys. We can see that an instructor can have 0 or 1 office assignments, and an office assignment can only go to one instructor. Students can have many enrollments, 0 to many. That's usually what the star means. But an enrollment can only be associated to a single student. We also have, I'm not sure what happened here. It looks like they must have left a little artifact here as a sort of visual typo. But we can see that one course will have many enrollments. So in this sense, we can see that the enrollment table serves as a sort of associated table connecting students and courses, right? Because of you can see the many-to-many relationship between these two, right? Because many students can have many courses, so usually that's an indication that you need an associated table that can break up those relationships in a one-to-one or one-to-many and many-to-one basis. Then we have departments, and then a department, only one department can have 0 or more courses, and then departments can also have many instructors, and then instructors can have 0 or 1 department. Now, if there might, in the future, there might be some dual appointments, right? There might be a case where that happens, and you might need to modify the database. But for now, we're going to assume that the department, that instructors in the department will either not have a department or will only have one department. So let's go back to our application and continue our implementation. We're going to start with the student model, and we're going to make several modifications to it. Now, if you see the code block under the student entity in the tutorial, you're welcome to just copy paste. I'm just going to go line by line to make sure, just to explain what everything does. So obviously the ID field obviously will serve as the primary key for students, so we're just going to leave it like that. For the last name, we're going to make sure that is required, and we're going to put a string length of 50 characters. And lastly, we're going to, instead of printing it as last name together, you'll recall that the last time we ran the application, we had to include these decorators so that the title would, or the headers would appear as we wanted. So we'll do the same for not only for the first name but the last name as well. And then we're going to put a error message where it's going to say error message, first name cannot be longer than 50 characters. And I think I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the same for the and I got to put it inside of this as an argument for the string length, and I'm just gonna put that over. I'm gonna put that over here, but I'm gonna say last name, and that's gonna, if there's a sort of deviation from this requirement, then we'll get notified. Next, we are going to put requirements or put constraints on our enrollment date, and let's put we're going to say data type. It's going to, obviously we're going to have this be a date, and we're going to put a display format requirement. So here we're going to say that the data format string is going to be um, the date in year, month, day format. So four digits for the year, 2 for the month, 2 for the day. Okay, and we're gonna have this apply in edit mode, apply format in edit mode, and we're gonna have this equal to true. And I gotta put that inside. Once again, I made that mistake. Put that inside of the parentheses. So we put enrollment date, and then enrollments, that just stays as is. We can also put requirements for the first and last name in terms of whether we allow digits or not. So what we'll do is we're going to put put a pair of regular expressions inside for these two fields. So we're going to put regular expression, and we're going to have this sort of string interpolation where we're gonna if I haven't explained regular expressions to you, they seem complex, but they're actually quite simple. So obviously, we have an empty string, and this @ sign, if I recall correctly, means that it is a raw string. So everything that goes inside of this string is going to be interpreted as it is. We're not going to have to escape any characters, have to do anything like put a backslash before any characters. So the first character, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say the first character in the line, right? So whenever you see this little caret symbol, that means the beginning of the line. And then we're going to say, we're going to put everything in between here. So we put $. So $sign means the end of the line. So we basically have a line here that's empty. We have the beginning of the line, and then we have the end of the line. And here is where we're going to put everything. So we'll start by saying that the first character or characters, right? We need one or more, need to be capitalized. So we're going to put A to Z, and we're going to put a plus sign. Now, this allows the user to put all uppercase characters, at least one uppercase character, one or more, inside of the last name field. It doesn't allow spaces, it doesn't allow numbers, just or even lowercase letters, just uppercase ones. The next set of values is, and I'm gonna differ slightly from what's in the book, is we're gonna put lowercase letters, uppercase letters, and then I'm also going to include a space. And here I'm going to say that it can be 0 or more. Remember, and this is really just more of a coincidence. In this case, star also means 0 or more characters. So, if let's say that we wanted to add a space, right? There certainly are cases where there are names with spaces in them in terms of the first name. So we're just gonna follow that convention here. So basically, all that we're saying here is that in this whole line from beginning to end, the first character, there needs to be at least one character that is capitalized. All of them can be capitalized, but the first one must, at the very least, be capitalized. And then any letter after 0 or more characters can be lowercase, uppercase, or spaces. And I'm not going to include hyphens. I think actually, let's see if that'll take it. I think that'll work. So, or I might just need to do that. Yeah. So by putting a slash, it knows that I'm not referring to something like this here. Okay. So we're done with that, and I'm going to apply it to the first name as well. So we're good to move forward. The next feature that we're going to work on, or the next model, is the is going to be the instructor model. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy the student one, and I'm just going to call it instructor, because we're going to be making some changes to this, and essentially us leveraging the class that we already created will help us in this task. So we're going to call it instructor, and I think for first name, last name, we'll have it be the same. However, for instructors, I am not going to have enrollment date. I'm just going to have we're going to call it hire date, and we're going to call it here hire date as well. Over here, I'm going to have a collection of courses. I'm going to have another class which I'm going to create, and that's going to be called office assignment. And it doesn't exist yet, but we're gonna work on that. Get and set. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to include. Let's see. I think for now, I'll just leave it like that. There are some, there's the schema. I guess I can add it, the schema object here, or library, and we're gonna go ahead and create the office assignment entity. And I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of do the same thing. I'm just going to call this office assignment, and call it office assignment. And for the key, I'm gonna put the key attribute here, and I'm gonna call it instructor ID. Okay. What would happen if I just didn't have that there? Okay, so it might just it might get confused. It might not realize that that is the primary key. So I'm just going to call this key. Then I'm going to have we're going to have several other elements. We're going to have, actually, let's just write it out explicitly. Public string location with our getter and our setter, and then we're going to have our instructor. Okay. And then let's put the different properties that we require. So let's say string length, we're going to go with 50, and we're going to put the display name. Let's put schema in there as well. Next, we're going to move on to the course model, and let's include the data annotations class, just for consistency with the tutorial. And we're gonna say for the display name, we're just gonna have this be number. Next, we're gonna put a string length and a minimum length. So string length of 50 and a minimum length of 3. And once again, this needs to be inside of the parentheses. In terms of credits, we're just gonna, let's see. So we have, actually this is gonna be the course ID, then we have the title, and then we're gonna have the number of credits. And we're just gonna put a range from 0 to 5. Okay? And we're gonna have several other objects here. We're gonna have one for the department, which we're going to create later. I don't think we have that created. Okay, then we're going to have the collection of enrollment. Actually, I'll just add the instructor. Very good. With our getters and setters. And I'm just going to move that down one. Now, just for some clarification, basically what this does, what this value or this decorator does, is that it tells the EF core that this field is going to be our primary key. So we're not going to be generating a new one every time that we add a record. We are specifying that here. And one last thing I forgot to add, department ID. Let's go ahead and create the department entity. And I'm just gonna, like before, I'm just gonna copy whichever one I have. And I'm gonna call this department. And let's just include the data annotations library. So we're going to have the first element is going to be the department ID, and keep in mind that unless this field is named either ID capitalized or class name followed by ID, the framework's not going to understand that this is the primary key, and then you have to use the key decorator that we had used earlier. So that's one reason why we make that annotation. So I'm going to include string with name. I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to have it be a string length of 50, minimum length of 3. Very good. Next, we're going to have the budget, and we're going to put that in a decimal form with our getter and our setter. And then we're going to say data type, and this is going to be currency. Then we're going to have this. We're going to specify the type name, which is more for the benefit of the SQL database. Type name is going to equal money. Very good. Next, we're going to put the start date. Let me see if I don't have another one. I think I'm just gonna copy one of these date fields here. I'm just gonna plagiarize that. So we have the data type, and we have our apply, format, and edit being equal to true, and we're gonna have this be the start date. Public date time, start date with our getter and our setter. Okay. Next, we're going to put our instructor ID. And here I'm going to put a string or a null conditional operator. Instructor ID with our getter and our setter. Okay. We're going to put an administrator who is going to be from the instructor table. And then we're going to put, let me just get rid of that space there. Okay. Actually, I think I'll put those back. Then I have my instructor ID, and then my administrator, and then last thing I'll do is I'll put the course. Okay. So we've created course, department, enrollment, instructor, office, assignment, and student. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to the enrollment table, and here we have this value here for grade, or rather this this member of this class, and you can see that we have this, we have this enum for the grades, and then if it happens to be null, it'll just say no grade. So from here, let's go back to let's find the context, and we're gonna make modifications to this to reflect the fact that we added some additional entities. So we're gonna say public db set departments in plural. Next, db set instructors, public db set office assignments. Okay, so you see that the class is singular, but the method where we get and set them are in plural. Okay, and then in the course, we're gonna set the relationships where courses will has many instructors, and they can have many courses. Here I need to change this. Okay, if we go to instructors, we have courses as object. Let's turn that into course. Okay, so I had these reversed, right? So I had a collection of courses called course. I should have called those courses, and then the course itself should have been called course, and that was inside of the instructor class. Another thing that I did, if you didn't notice it the first time, is that I closed these curly brackets, I closed these brackets here for the date format, and that resolved our issue for our school context. Okay, so I went ahead and brought over the data from the section on the tutorial titled See the Database, and I just went ahead and I just formatted it a little, just for organization, but also it's going to help me later on whenever we need to import this data using the XML format. Next up, we will be working through the tutorial that's going to allow us to read related data. For this section, we're going to go ahead and create the course pages. We already created the course model, and now we need to implement it through the use of scaffolding. So we'll get started. We're going to go ahead and right-click Pages, and we're going to create a folder called Courses. Courses being plural. Then we're going to right-click, and like before, we're going to add new scaffolded item, and we are going to select Razor Pages using Entity Framework. CRUD, that is. We're going to add, and then we're going to select the course model. Over here, we're going to change the DB context, and instead of it being Contoso University context, we're going to change that to be school context, just as the context is named in our solution. We're then going to click Add, and we're just going to let this run. Okay, you can see that the courses folder has now been populated. Now we're going to run. Okay, so let's see what I need to do. I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I have all my migrations here. I don't see my migrations. Okay, so it's possible that I don't have my migrations in place. I'm going to update the database. Okay, we're going to rebuild. And so let's go back, let's go to students. That works fine. Let's go to courses, and we can see that our courses are as we intend, but we seem to have digits instead of departments. So so we have the department ID there, so that's something that we need to correct. So we'll go back to the courses page. So let's go to courses, and then under index.cshtml.cs, we're going to go right below here, where we have our courses object. We're going to call this courses, and then we're gonna relabel this await context courses, and in between these two, this method call on the previous one, we're gonna add as no tracking. And after that, let's go to index.cs.html. And we see that we have, actually we're in students. We should be in the courses index.html. And for this page, we're going to call this courses. And then just because we changed the name of the object, we have to change these values here. We have to change the object or the model, the course model inside our model class. So we're gonna show the course ID. We're gonna show the title. We're going to show the credits, and we'll copy one more. We'll show the department. And we'll have to do the same for these. And here we have credits, and then we need to have department and then name. We are ready to move forward. Okay, let's go to courses, and our courses page is looking perfect. Next, we're going to add the scaffolding for the instructor pages. So we'll go ahead and we're going to add another view to our school view models folder, and we're going to call this. Let's first create the file. Let's create a class, and this is going to be called instructor index data. Okay, and in here we're going to have several elements. There are going to be enumerable items for instructors, courses, and enrollments. So the first one is going to be enumerable, the instructors, course containing courses. Going to put the null conditional operator there, and then public enumerable enrollment. Okay, so we have the three, and we can go ahead and build our scaffolding. So we're going to right-click pages like before. We're going to add a folder, and we're going to call this instructors plural. Then we're going to right-click, add new scaffolded item, raise our pages using entity framework, and we're going to pick the instructor model class. So let's pick that, and then we will use, as before, the school context. Okay, we're going to add, and we'll wait for that to finish. Okay, so that finished, and it opened up the index.cshtml.cs file, and we're going to go ahead and add the Contoso University School View Models library that we have here, our set of classes, Contoso University Models, School View Models, okay. And then we're going to add several elements. We're going to add the instructor index data. We're going to have an object from that class. We're going to call it instructor data get set. We're going to have an integer instructor ID get set, and then we're going to have another integer for course ID, and then we don't need instructor. Here we're going to pass several parameters to our onGetAsync method. We're going to pass the ID, and then we're going to pass the course ID. Next, we're gonna change this out, and we're gonna add some different some objects here. So we're gonna assign to our instructor data object, and that's gonna be a new instructor index data. Basically, we're constructing that new object, and then we're going to be assigning values to the instructors. So next, we're gonna say instructor data, instructors, and then we're gonna await, because this is a database query. Remember that this is gonna happen asynchronously. And from here, and we're gonna add include I such that I is office assignment. We're also going to include I such that I courses. Then include, we'll indent that just for illustrative purposes. Department, then order by the last name, and then to list async. I think for now, I think this is fine for now. It's not really causing any. It's not really a compilation issue. It's just a warning. So we'll move forward from there. So next, we're gonna check if the ID is not null. Then instructor ID is going to equal the value of the ID parameter that we pass. We're going to create an instructor where I is and where the instructor ID is equal to the ID value. And next we're going to add get the courses. So we're getting the courses for this particular instructor. Then if course ID is not null, we're going to assign the course ID value to a variable here. Course ID value. Then we're going to create enumerable enrollments. We're going to go to the database, and we're going to apply our constraints. We're going to say where x has the course ID equal to course ID. Then we're going to include all of the students, and then we're going to list asynchronously. How did I call it? I misspelled it. Instructor data, enrollments. Okay. Next, we're going to update our instructors index page. So let's go to the main page, and we're going to call this instructors. And over here, we're going to put the ID for the page. We're good. We're going to create new. Let's call this instructors. What is this called? Let's get rid of these. and we're going to add, let's just go ahead and copy them from the tutorial. Nothing really special there. So we're going to say instructor data, instructors. Okay, we're iterating through each of those, and basically we're going to get a we're going to create a variable called selected row. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, let me shift this a little bit forward. Okay. And then we're going to say if actually, we can probably make this a little simpler for ourselves, where if if item ID is equal to model instructor ID, then we're going to say table success. Otherwise, then we're going to have a class. We're going to assign the selected rows class to this to these rows that we're going to be adding, right? Because this content is going to correspond to a single row times the number of items in our instructors, or the number of instructors. And we're going to say class equals ampersand selected row. And we're going to add, so we have last name, first name, hire date. And then for, we're going to have another field for another cell. And so if office assignment is not null, we're going to reflect that here, and we're going to print it. Item, office, assignment, location. Very good. Then in here, we're going to add another element, and we're going to say another cell, and we're going to do a for loop where for each course in item courses, we're going to see the course ID and then the title. And we put a break line here just to make it'll make a new line. And then we have, we're going to have different elements here. We're going to have another one. We're going to have one called index, or it's going to go to the index page rather. And this is basically going to route to this particular course, and we're going to call it select. Now we're going to add some additional elements here after our table. So we're going to have an ampersand and say if the model courses are not null. So if the courses and instructor data are not null, then we're going to put another header here. We're going to say courses taught by selected instructor. And later on, if we want to get fancy, we can put their name there. But for now, we'll just leave it as is. Table, class, table. Okay, and then we're gonna put some headers here. Again, I'm just gonna copy and paste them from. Actually, I need to put the row tag. Okay. And then we're gonna do a for loop right beneath that, and we're gonna iterate through all the courses. Okay. And then again, it's gonna be something like this, and we're just gonna put it here. But instead of ID, it's going to be course ID. And then the model we're going to check if it is equal to course ID. Okay. And then we're going to add some rows right beneath that. Okay. And then we're going to add different elements. We're going to add a link to the course. Go ahead and copy that over, and let's see. I'm outside of the scope of my for loop. Okay, so we have that. Let's go to index.cs. So we instead of index, I went to edit instead of index, and for the hire date, the dates these should be capitalized. So let me just go through all of my models and fix that. I'm going to reference this this field called full name. We have full name in students, and then we have full name in the instructor model. I was supposed to assign this value to this member of this class, course ID. I was supposed to assign it, but instead I was overriding the course ID, which gets passed to the onGetAsync method. Courses are working, instructor, let's go to micro, and yes, so we see all the students that are taking the course based on the instructors. So that works as expected. Next up, we're going to work through the tutorial for updating related data. Okay, in this section, we're going to make some modifications to facilitate how our application handles and works with the data that it stores. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add a feature that is going to allow us to have a drop-down list in our interface. So we'll start under pages and then courses. Then in courses, we're going to create a class called department name page model. Okay. And then as we move forward, as we enter the different elements, you'll see the different libraries that we need to, or that we'll be including and relying upon for this class. We'll have this element be public, and this is going to be from the select list. This is going to be a select list object, and we're going to call it department name SL, and we'll have our getter and our setter. Next, we're going to create a method called populate department dropdown list. This is not going to return anything, so it's going to be void, and this is going to take the context, and it's going to take in an object called selected department, and it's going to be null by default. Okay, so we're going to do a query on the database. We're going to get all of the departments. So we're going to say departments query from D in context. We're going to order by the name, and we're going to see all of the different elements. Okay, then we're going to assign to this object, to department name SL, and we're going to say department name SL, and we're going to assign this. We're going to create a new select list object, and it's going to have several arguments. First, it's going to be the department query object, where we're pulling data from our database. Ask no tracking. Okay, next, we're going to include name of department ID. So just the name of this object. Next, you're going to have name of department name, and department, and then department name. Okay, and then for this one, we're going to need to include the model, and then the last one is going to be selected department. Perfect. Okay. So once again, what this does is that it's going to list out the different department names. Now that we're done here, we are going to incorporate this into our create.cs html.cs. So under courses, we're gonna open up this dropdown, and we're gonna open up the class inside of our create.cshtml file. So we're going to change this to where it's not going to be a page model, but rather a department name page model. Then inside onGet, we're going to comment this out, and we're going to have this, we're going to execute the populate the department drop down list, and we're going to pass the context. Okay, then we're going to go to our post async method, and let's just go ahead and delete this, and I think we can delete this as well. Okay, so here we have our bind property. Okay, so we're going to create a variable called empty course. It's going to be of the course type, and then we're going to say if await try update model async for course empty course, and we're going to put the name course, and then basically where, or such that course department ID then title, and then credits. Okay, so if this is true, try update model async, and let me make sure that I have my relevant libraries. So I have my models, and I'm gonna need I don't need these. Let's see. Okay, so I actually forgot to extend the page model library or class to this this new class that we were creating. So that's why we're having issues. So here, rather than redirect to page results, we're going to have redirect to page. So just as a sort of review of everything that we did, we included the course ID, the department ID, the title, and the credits, and we're basically trying to update this model asynchronously using these different parameters. So we did that. Okay, we don't need these libraries, but we definitely need to extend this object, or we need to extend this library. This needs to be a subclass of the page model class. So let's go ahead and save all, and let's rebuild. Then let's go to the create page, and then we're going to go to the part here right after right here in the departments section, and here where it says ASP ASP items, instead of view bag department ID, we are going to include, or we're going to replace this with model department name SL. Okay. And then we're going to put drop down, which is going to be through the option tag. No value, and then we're going to put select department. Okay, we're going to put a span here. ASP validation for course department ID class text danger, and it's just going to be a single tag. Okay. Next, let's see. So we made these changes. We're good to go, and we are now going to update the edit class. So we're going to go here to edit.cs, html.cs, and once again we're gonna rather than extending from the page model, we're going to extend from this new model, or this new class that we created, department name page model. And let's get rid of some of these which we don't need. And one thing to keep in mind, you see these long sort of definitions here. You can just do using Contoso University data, and that's really no longer required. So we can just keep them, we can just kind of shrink that down, save some space. Okay. So next, we're going to go down here after this ID call, and we're going to put right here under courses, we're going to replace this, and we're going to have it be include C department, and then we're going to include first or default async course ID equals to ID, which is what we're passing to this get method. And then so we have this, if it's not, if there's no course, it's going to be not a page not found. And then we're going to replace these two calls with populate department drop down list, and then we're going to put the context and then the course department ID. And let's put semicolons at the end. And we're going to add, or we're going to modify our onPost async class, or rather method, and we're going to have this receive an ID. If ID is null, then we're going to have it be not found. Next, actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and just delete all this just to make it easier for myself. And we don't need this course exists. So next, we're going to create an object called course to update, and this is going to await the us getting the course from the database. Okay. If this is null, then return not found. Okay. Next, we're going to do something similar to what we did before, where we're going to do the try update model async. So basically we're going to try to update the database, or we're going to try to update our database with our new this new data, and then we're going to save the changes. So if await try update model async, it's going to take a course. So if, or rather, it's going to take the arguments course to update, followed by course, followed by C to C credits, followed by C to C department ID, and then C to title. Okay, so if that is true, then we're gonna save changes and then redirect to the index page. Okay, and then we'll do populate department drop-down list with the context course to update department ID, and then we're going to return a page. Okay. So in this method, we're basically, whenever we try to edit, we're basically going to take in the ID from the course that we're editing. Then if the ID is not found, basically it's going to tell us that the course is not found. But if it is, it's going to assign it to this object here, course to update. And then if no record is found, right? So we check if ID is null, and if it's not null, it'll try to pull it from the database. If it tries to pull it from the database and nothing is found, it'll say not found again. Then it'll try to update the model asynchronously based on based on the credits, department, and title. It'll save changes and then redirect you back to the index page. And then, but if this is not true, it's just going to populate the department drop-down list with the department IDs into the or from the context, and then go back to the page. Okay, so let's save, and we'll do another update to the edit page, and this time it's going to be on the course ID, or right below the course ID tag. So let's go ahead. I think I'll do it like this, where we're going to say div, and this is going to be of the class form group, and then we're going to have this. We're going to create a label, ASP4 course ID class control label, and then the label is going to be empty, and then in it we're going to have a div, and this is going to have HTML display for model course ID. Okay, and I gotta close it. Okay. Then, right after credits, I have I'm going to update my my select statement here at model department name SL. Okay, everything else looks good, and we're ready to move forward. Next, we're going to update the delete page, And let's go to the class, and let's find our onGet method. And right after not found, we're going to assign a value to this object here, to this course. We're going to replace this, and we're going to say course await context courses, and as no tracking, then include C department first or default async, such that so that the course ID is equal to the ID that is passed to the method. Okay, and then if it is null, after that, if this object happens to be null, then we're gonna return not found. Otherwise, we're gonna return the page. Okay. We'll then update our delete page, and we're gonna add 2 elements. We're gonna add course ID, and then course ID. We'll include a actually, it looks like we're going to change this department ID. We're going to change it to name. Okay, very good. Then in the details page, we're basically going to do sort of a very similar operation. We're just going to copy the first 2, course ID, and then at the bottom we're going to change department ID to name. Okay. Let's test it and see how we're doing. Okay, so we had a build error, and it looks like I had more than one semicolon. Let's just rebuild that just to make sure we're ready to move forward. Okay, we're good. Okay, let's go to the instructors page. Let's edit this one. Okay, so this one is here. What if we create a new one? So far everything is working as intended. We're going to add another class under our school view models folder. So we're going to add class, and we're going to call this assigned course data. Okay, and then under here we're going to create 3 entries: public, and then the first one is going to be, actually let me go ahead and put the getter and setter right away, because I know I'm gonna need them later. So there's gonna be an integer course ID, then string, then a Boolean value assigned. Okay, and then title. After this, we are going to we're going to create the instructor page model base class. And once again, this is just there as a way for us to just to kind of to delegate out some of the some of the logic into a single location. So let's go to our instructors folder, and then we're going to add a class instructor courses page model. Okay, and this is going to extend page model. Remember that we didn't have this before, and let's go ahead and add the relevant libraries, and then we're gonna have this object assign course data list. Then we're gonna create a method, public void populate assigned course data. It's gonna take the context, and then it's going to take an instructor. Okay, so we're going to have all the courses. We're going to have the instructor courses, which is going to be, we're basically going to select the courses based on their course IDs. So we're going to take, we're going to do var instructor courses, new hash set, int instructor courses, select, and I need to include the model. Okay, and this is going to be select. C course ID. Okay. And then we're gonna assign to our assign course data list, and it's gonna be a new list data, and it's gonna be empty for now. And then for each course in all the courses, we're gonna iterate through our courses list that we populated, and then we're gonna say assigned course data list, and we're gonna add new assigned course data. And there's different, there's, I think a cleaner way to do it, let's just call it, let's just call this assign course data equals, and then we're gonna populate this, and then we're gonna put the course ID followed by, and I need to put course ID, okay, title, course title, and then assigned instructor courses contains course ID. So if the instructor contains, or if the instructor has this course, then this is gonna be true. So we're gonna add that data there, and it looks like we're done. Okay. Okay, next we're gonna update the edit page, or rather, before the edit page, we're gonna update the edit class, and we're gonna switch out this page model to the instructor courses page model that we just built. Instructor courses page model, and let's just go ahead. We already have the Contoso University data namespace there, so we can just get rid of that. We have the context, that's good. We have the instructor, we can, well, let's get rid of that. And then we have our onGet. And if the ID is null, it's going to return not found. Okay, so clicked on something. So here for the instructors, we're gonna add some stuff in between the instructors and this first or default async. So here we're gonna say include I office assignment, then include I courses as no tracking, which you'll remember is for performance purposes as we're in this development stage. And then we do populate assigned course data, and then we're going to put the context and then the instructor object. Okay. And then for our post, we're going to change this out. We don't need this. We don't need this one. And most of this is going to be changed anyways. So if ID is null, then return not found. And oh, I forgot to add the parameters. Int ID, and then a string array of selected courses. Okay. And I think for now, I think at the end, I'm just gonna put the return page, so that it's not bothered by the fact that it's not returning anything. Okay, so next we're gonna say we're gonna create this object instructor to update instructors, and then we're gonna include office assignment. I think I can just copy these over with no tracking. With no tracking. Next, if this object is null, then return not found. Excellent. It's moments like these where I'm grateful for AI. I'll wait, and then we're going to try update model async containing the instructor object or the instructor class, and then we're going to say instructor to update, call it instructor I first name I to I last name, hire date, and then office assignment. And then if the office assignment location is null or white space, then it's just going to be set to null. Or white space. Then update instructor courses, selected courses, instructor to update. And this is going to be, we're going to add this this method later. Then we're going to populate assign course data, context, and then the instructor to update. And then we're going to let's see. This is, this should be outside, sorry. So this should be in here. Actually, it should be here as well. And then we're going to say return redirect to page index, and then in between these two We're gonna save changes to the database. So now we're going to create this update instructor courses method. And for this, yeah, I think I'll type it just so I can explain what's going on. Update instructor courses string selected courses. So it's going to take an array of selected courses. Going to take the instructor to update. Okay. Oh, it's outside of, I put it outside of the class. So I got it's in the namespace and then in the class. So update instructor courses. Okay, so that fixed it. And now I'm going to say if the selected courses are null, if the list that we pass is null, it's just going to return an empty list. Or rather, not return an empty list, it's going to assign an empty list of courses to this instructor to update object. So let's say instructor to update courses, new list course. Okay, so we're creating a list. No issues there. Actually, I forgot to put it. I forgot to put it inside of the if statement. Selected courses is null. Then, okay. And then we're gonna add this object, selected courses HS. So this hash set of strings. Okay, and then we're gonna create instructor courses. And there's gonna be integers, instructor to update courses, select C course ID, and then we're gonna do a for loop. So for each course in the course table, if the selected courses hash map contains course ID, and we're just turning that into a string, and if I'm sure there's a more efficient way to do this, but we'll just follow the tutorial for now. Usually when you have all these nested if statements, that's usually not a good way to move forward. And in fact, because you can see, okay, then if the instructor courses do not contain the course ID, then we're going to add the course. Okay, forgot to remember to close it out. Else, then so this is basically like almost like an opposite of this, which is again a reason why I didn't really like the way this was sort of being implemented. So if it does contain the course ID, then we'll create another object called course to remove, and we're instructor to update courses single C course ID equals course ID. Okay, and then instead of adding, we're going to remove it. So update instructor courses. So just So I ended this if statement here. So basically, I just checked if, and then I did nothing because I had a semicolon at the end. So that's why it was complaining that this code was unreachable. Again, one of the great benefits of working with an IDE. Okay, moving on. We're going to edit the edit page. And here, we're going to add...
You have a typo in your request.
So we're going to add a div. Actually, we're going to add two divs in between this submit button and this div that shows our hire date. So let's go ahead and add them now. So they're both going to be of the form group class. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy them. This one, the first one is going to be basically, and I could have just copied the first one or this one right below it, or the one above it. Sorry. And then this is going to be office assignment location. Same here. And then office assignment location. Okay. So that one is not as involved as this next one. Here we're going to create a table, and then we're going to add the table tag, and we're going to add some, or actually it's just going to be one element, one row. Okay, and here it's just a block of code, and we're going to add a counter where for each course in the assigned course data list, if the count, so we're adding, right? So the thing is, if you have this increment operator, you're going to basically, whenever it gets, whenever it starts to loop, it's going to read 0, and then it's going to increment. Okay, so if it's divisible by 3, then it's going to put a, it's going to basically add a new row inside. Because you can see that this closing table row tag closes this first one, and then it opens the new one. So it kind of bifurcates them, it cleaves them, and then we're gonna do the these TD tags. Keep forgetting. I always forget what those are called. It's going to be a checkbox. Name. Selected courses. Well, let's see what's going on here. I got to put this one right here. And then I'm gonna put I'm gonna close it there, and value course ID. Then I'm gonna put HTML raw course assigned, and if it is true, if the course is assigned, then it's going to say we're going to have a checkbox that is going to be checked. Otherwise, it's going to be empty. Okay. And then inside of this div, we're going to have this course ID, and then course title. Okay. So we're basically we're adding a number of checkboxes with all the different courses. Okay. Let's go to the create class. And this one, it's going to be the sort of same concept as the ones before. I think in this case, I'll just copy it from the tutorial, and then I'll just sort of maybe just address whatever might be needed. Okay. So in this case, we don't need these. We don't need these libraries. So once again, we're extending from this instructor. Where did we put it? Yes, instructor courses page model. And from here, okay, we don't need this here. We're declaring our context and our logger, and then here basically whenever we do a request to the page, we just essentially populate with this particular course data, which is essentially an empty list. Okay. And then whenever we post, we create a new instructor, and we add a list that's going to contain courses, so that which we add to the courses member of our new instructor object, and then we load that onto the context, onto the database. Then we do a for loop where we get the course based on the course value, on the ID, and if it's not null, it gets added to this new instructor instructor's courses. Otherwise, there's if this course is null for whatever reason, we will get a warning in our debugger. Next, again, if we try to do an update based on our instructor information, if it succeeds, then it'll add the new instructor to the instructors table. It'll save the changes and send you back to the index page. And if this is not true, it'll just send you back to the index page. And if for whatever reason, here, I don't really, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this here. If there's an issue, I'm just gonna have it like sort of return here. Actually, no, that's fine. No, because it'll catch it here. It'll show the error, and then it'll continue forward. So that was my mistake. And then it'll populate the course data for this new instructor, and then send it to the context, and then return you to the page. Okay. Let's see. So for the page, we're gonna do another set of additions where we're gonna add some code in between this create button and the hire date. So again, I'm just going to copy it because we kind of did something similar already for the previous class, or not the class, the previous page. And here basically we create a table, and for all the different courses, it's basically going to create, it's going to add a checkbox. Okay, so we need to update the delete class, and then over in the post method, right after it checks whether the ID is null, then we're gonna change this up. Just gonna paste this here. And basically what's happening here, so we're getting the instructor that has these courses with this ID, and if the instructor is null, then it's just going to return back to the page. Otherwise, it's going to get the department. So remember earlier, if we try whenever we had the issue, we kind of got ahead of ourselves. But basically, this is the logic that handles that. So if the instructor has a department, then it'll basically go back and say, yeah, if this instructor gets deleted, the instructor for those departments basically is gonna disappear, and then that instructor gets removed from the instructors table. Changes are put in place in the table or in the database, and then we go back to the index table. Okay, believe it or not, that's all the tutorial. So let's run this and see if everything still works. Okay, let's go to instructors, and then if we do delete, okay, so if we, let's see, departments, we don't have departments yet. So that works as intended. We have the courses, students, and some demographic information. So we've implemented the data updating portion of this tutorial. In this last section, we are going to seed data using an XML file. Okay, for this last part, we are going to change the implementation details inside of our DB initializer class so that all of the different data that we want to seed into the database are coming from an XML file. Now, I don't expect you to basically turn all of these different records into an XML file, just enough for us to be able to load some data in there. So, I'm gonna you'll see me how I convert the data that we have here into an XML. But again, I don't expect you to do this. Just again, just do enough so that you are able to just have data in place. So what we'll do is we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call it seed.xml. So I'll right click on my folder, add, and then I'll click on new item. Then under ASP.NET Core, I'll go to data, and then I'm going to pick XML file, and let's call this seed.xml. I gotta rename that .xml. Yes, okay. Now, you're going to see, and let me just zoom in here. You're going to see this tag here, and that's just for schema purposes. You don't necessarily need to keep it. And whenever we read the XML file, um, the when we parse it, the language is just going to deserialize it anyways. So, we can keep it. I think I'll just get rid of it for now. Now, I'm going to just go ahead. You saw me, I was in here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this whole thing because I'm going to use it to build my my XML file. And again, this is not something that I expect you to do. It's just something that I'm going to do so that at least you can see how I did it, and basically just so that I have from somewhere to seed my data. So I'm going to paste everything here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to I just want to keep all of the different data that I think I can use, and I'm just going to move I'm going to move some of this stuff around, and let me at least here just sort of fix this up a little bit. And notice I'm just keeping the headers not the headers, but the sort of just to give me some context of what everything is. Just because later that's going to inform how I build out my my file. So I kind of have the general shape of my application here. So the way that this structure is going to go is I'm going to have an initial tag called seed, right? That's going to be sort of like my parent tag. And then within it, I'm going to have different sections. So I'm going to have students, I'm going to have instructors, I'm going to have office assignments, I'll have departments, and then courses. Let me change this up. And then I'll also have enrollments. Okay. So for let's just we're gonna do one at a time, and for this I'm gonna be using a lot of maybe regular expressions, but we'll just sort of have to be a little creative. And in fact, if you just want to take this take the data from here and maybe go into ChatGPT and just tell it, hey, just make an XML file based on this data, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that whenever it reads whenever you're parsing this XML file, that you're able to interpret it. But at least for me, I'm going to do it manually. So again, you have that perspective. So here, I'm going to create the different records that are going to go inside of these student into this student tag. So I'm going to hold down Alt, and I think I'm just going to, at least for now, I'm going to get rid of these parts where I'm basically doing these variable declarations. And again, that's just for me to make things easier for me to work with and understand what the data is, and if I want to use regular expressions later to do like some sophisticated find and replace, I can do that. So I have my courses. So you notice that I'm basically turning them into um, different sort of sort of individual records. So for the different the different tags, you know, these are going to be essentially, you know, we're going to have essentially individual tags here. So, you know, we're going to have these be, you know, I'm going to take these definitions here, and I'm just going to do Alt Shift, right? So you saw that I held down Alt, and then I just copied everything, and then I just opened. I did a less than sign. No, I'll go from here. I'll do Alt, select that end, then I'll do Control right, and that allows me to sort of put everything, this whole block of code, into these brackets. Now I'm going to do Control Z because it added, you can see that for that first one, it added that that closing student tag. I don't really want that. So next thing I'm going to do is I want to give each of these sort of an ID, and that is more for me to reference them later within this file. So once again, I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm just going to do ID, and I'm going to put my I'm going to do my double quotes here. Let's see if I can. Okay, and basically I'm going to do like S1 to S9, or you know, if you want to do S0 to S8, that's fine. But basically, I just want to give these, you know, I want to give them their own individual identifier. 5, 6, and 7. Okay, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then for here, what I want to do is I'm going to get rid of this bracket here, and I'm going to open up for the first name, Control right, and then I'm going to close out the brackets, right? So I just Controlled Z so that it wouldn't close out, it wouldn't add that last closing bracket. So I'll just I'll delete that, and then I'm just going to select all of this, and I'll do Control right to go to the end, and Control Shift and then right, and you can see that it allows me to sort of select everything, and I'll add sort of a closing bracket, and then I'll type, you know, I can type first name or I can paste it, just basically for me to be able to have these, you know, have these elements here closed out. I'm going to leave a little bit of space here just to make things easier to work with, and then I'm going to do Control Shift and right, and once again I'm just going to align everything. No, I'm going to do Shift, then close that out, again Control Z because it keeps showing me that that little closing tag at the end, and then I'm just sort of, I'm going to repeat this. So I'm going to give myself some space, and then I'm going to close it out. Okay. So you can see that my file is kind of slowly coming together. So once again, I'm going to close this out, Control Z because it keeps adding that little tag, and then for my time, I'm just going to just have it be, you know, I'm just going to delete all this stuff here, and it's just going to be just a sort of regular string of text. So one thing I can do is I can do control and then drag, control and select, and then just kind of paste all this stuff. Nope, that was not right. So if I do this, if I do Alt and then select, I'll do Control C, then I'll go to the end and paste. Okay, no, that doesn't work. So it sort of keeps messing up. I don't want you to have to deal with this. So probably the more reliable way is I'm just gonna, I hold down the Alt key, I select the area where I want to close out these tags, and then I'm going to close enrollment date, and then I'm going to type it out, hit escape. So you can see that I have sort of my records here, and then at the end I'm going to close it out with /student, and then close it out again. It just keeps doing that, but I just gotta Control Z out of it. You're just gonna have to Control Z if you close these. You see how, like, if I do Shift greater than, it adds some, it kind of makes it behave weirdly. So I just Control Z, and it keeps the stuff that I had added, but it's it still kind of works. So I'm just gonna select all this. I'm just gonna go from here, Shift End, and then I'm just gonna bring it up here to my students tag, and I'm just gonna select this, and then hold down Alt, and then I'm just gonna go up, and there is my first set of records. Now you can probably get rid of these spaces, and later on, I'll show you how to do that. In fact, we can do it now. Control H. If you do less than or great, if you do less than or greater than, right? So obviously you can see that it matches wherever these happen, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to find any instance where there is one or more space. So I open up a bracket, right? So I need to make sure that I check this use regular expressions button, and then I need to put the in this case I'm going to do the plus sign, and let's see. Okay, instead of space, I'm going to do S, yes. And S, what it does is it just searches for white spaces. And probably the reason why it didn't show me anything when I had spaces is because these are tabs and not spaces. So then I'm just going to replace that with these just closed these closed tags. So I'm going to replace. Oh, no, I don't want it to do that. So notice that I had it in entire solution. I don't want it to touch anywhere else in my file, so I just undid everything, and I'm just going to select current document. So okay, you can see that only 15 areas were affected. That's good. So that is, we're done with the students, right? So you can see that we have sort of individual tags for each of the students, and now we're ready to go to the instructors, right? So basically, I'm just going to repeat the same process. Feel free to skip ahead, but I'm just going to go ahead and just keep working through these. So I'm going to do Alt select, and I'm just going to drag down, and then I'm going to put my less than symbol and Control right to go to the end. Okay, so then I'm going to close it out, and then I'm just gonna Control Z. Again, it just doesn't behave as I want it to. So here, I'm just gonna, just try to work a little bit more quickly. Close this out. Close this. Close these tags. Again, Control Z. And then I'm gonna do Control right. And I think what I'll do is I'll just select from here, Control Shift left. I think it's because it has a space here, or it doesn't have a space here. So, you can select one, and then you can sort of, kind of add a space at the end so that they're all sort of uniform, and you can select them evenly. So I did what I did here is you can select from here, or you can select from here, whatever you prefer, and then you can do Control Shift and then left, and then you can see that it'll sort of select them automatically. So I'm gonna close these out, and I'm just gonna put a close. Actually, I need to close out my first name. Okay, again, Control Z. And then over here, I'm going to close out with my last name. Okay, then I'm going to do this again for my hire date. And I'm just going to go to where my dates begin, and I'm going to close it out with my greater than symbol, Control Z, because it keeps adding that string at the end, and then close out with hire date, and it's going to do it again. So let's see. Actually, no, I didn't do it. So I'm going to close it here with slash less than symbol slash instructor, and it did it again. So I'm just going to undo, and it's going to bring it back to how it should be. So once again, just like before, I'm going to bring it over to the top. Now, just like with the students, I need to put an ID for the instructors. So I'm going to do Alt and then select and drag, and I'm going to make these equal to, I'm going to say I0. Let me just put the I here at the end or at the beginning so that I can just sort of populate the numbers 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we did the students and we did the instructors. Now we need to do the office assignments. So for this one, we have Fukuri, who has, we can call this, we're going to call this an instructor reference, and the way that we're going to represent these is, let's just sort of set it up as we need to, and then Control Z again, and then for the instructors, we're going to call this instructor ref for reference. Control Z, and then, but instead of the names, I'm just going to use the ID. So I'm just going to put 1, and then I2, and then Kapoor is I3. Okay, so I'm going to close that out. Instructor ref. No. Let's put a slash there because we're closing it. Control Shift. So again, Alt select, and then Control Shift right, so that I can select what I want and then I'm gonna let me try something different. I'm gonna select here, and then I'm gonna select slash. No, that didn't work. Just thought I'd give it a try. Close that out, undo, and then I'm gonna delete these. So I'm gonna put location as a tag, undo, Control Z, whatever you want to do. And then at the end here, I'm just going to copy these and put them at the end. And I'm going to put slashes. Okay. So again, no, I can't move them yet. I need to put some space here in office assignments. So I'm going to put these here. Okay. So so far you've seen me do this the hard way. And there's probably an easier way for me to do this, and we're going to try one way for us to do that. So one way we're going to try is through regular expressions, and just take this more as a sort of exposure to different ways for us to sort of do this type of sort of manual data cleanup. You will certainly find yourself in a situation where you might have to manipulate data manually. It shouldn't always be the case that you should always find more intelligent ways to do this, but the point is regular expressions is a very powerful way that will allow us to work with data. So right now I'm just going to focus on our department here, and for what we're going to do, regular expressions basically allow us to do very sophisticated find and replace operations and sort of target different parts of strings, and even do things like do string validations. For example, if you want to validate that some string is a valid email, we can certainly use them for that. But for this example, we're basically going to use it for replacing some of these elements and turning them into HTML tags. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a pair of parentheses, and right now they're just empty, and I'm going to type department. Okay, and by the way, remember to have the regular expressions button checked whenever you're doing any regex or regular expressions work, and I'm just going to have this apply to the current document. Next, I'm going to do space brackets so you can see that it applies just to this beginning of the file. Now, I want to select the rest of the line as well, and basically what I'm doing is, through the use of these parentheses, is I am sort of identifying parts of the string that I want to work with. So here I have, I'm going to add another pair of parentheses, and then I'm going to do a period star. And you can see that basically replaces, or that selects everything that is in the line. But I don't just want to go there. I want to sort of also capture these sort of this last part here that has the closing curly brackets and semicolon. So I'm going to add another pair of, let me undo that. I messed that up. So let me just type that again. Department. Let's see. Yeah, so I have my department, and then I'm going to put curly braces, semicolon, and then I'm going to close here. So I have three parts. I have my department, which is the beginning. I have everything that is after the curly brace. the opening curly brace, and then everything, and then we have this last part, which is the curly brace, or the closing curly brace, that is. Now, these are numbered, so we can actually refer to them in our replace text box, and we can point to these in a targeted way. And one more thing I want to do is I want to actually, for now, I think I'll leave it like that, and if it gives us any issues, we'll adjust. So what I want to do is I want to put department, and then I just want the middle part, right, which is everything in between my opening and closing curly braces. And to do that, to refer to that part of the string, I'm going to put $2. Then I'm going to close with department, right? So I'm making this sort of a sort of HTML, XML rather, line. So let's go ahead and replace, and you can see that it replaced the beginning, but it also replaced the end. So that happened to work pretty well. Now, another thing that we can do with regular expressions is, and again, this is a sort of toy example, but again, it's useful. Let's say I want to get rid of, let's say I just want to keep these dates. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this date time parse portion, and I'm just going to put that in parentheses. Okay, now because there's a parenthesis here, it's going to confuse the parser, so I'm going to put a slash at the beginning, and that basically is going to escape the this this open parenthesis. So now I can do star or dot star like before, but what that's going to do is that it's just going to select the end of the line. So a more targeted approach can be for me to just say, to just focus on the digits and number, or and hyphen, and I can actually sort of I can just tell it, hey, I want any string that has, let's say 4 digits, right? So if I do /d and then I just put 4, you can see that it selected the date time and then just the years. So I'm going to repeat that, and I'm going to put open brackets d and then 2, and it's going to do the same for the months, and then I'm just going to copy and paste here so you can see that it selected the days as well. And then I'm gonna close this out with a open parenthesis, question or double quote, and then I'm going to do slash close parentheses, parentheses again, and you can see that we basically created a regular expression for the dates. And because this middle term is inside a parenthesis, we can actually just replace everything with that second term. So I'm just going to have 2, and I'm going to do replace all, and look at that, it just replaced everything automatically. The next thing I want to do is all these instances, and for this one I'm just going to do selection. I just because I just want to focus on this portion of my file here, and I'm going to do something a little bit more intricate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to start with a parenthesis, space, right? So you can see that it basically selected everything, and then I want to say basically any character. right? And to do that, I just do the capital or the letter W, and that just represents alphabetical values. I'm going to put a plus sign here, and you can see that it selects, I'm sorry, and it's not alphabetical, it's alphanumeric. So I'm going to select this first part, and then actually, I think I'll put I'll have this initial space be either, I'm going to put a bracket here, and I'm going to have it look either for spaces or commas, and I'm going to put a star so that it'll say, okay, either a comma or a space. So basically, all of these words are inside, this, at least the title, are inside of this second, this number 2 element. Then I want to just capture the equal part. Okay, so you can see that we're slowly sort of capturing all of the different elements that we care about. So for now, I think this probably works for like 90% of what we want. I think, like if we try to do something like, if we do let's say 2, and let's say I want to put it in brackets, and then I want to do let's say actually I think I'm gonna go ahead and just go all the way, and I messed that up. So let's see if it'll bring it back. No, I gotta rebuild it. Okay, so I'm gonna put I'm gonna have it say, if I'm gonna say, oh dang it, so we're gonna add parenthesis here, right? So what I want to do is I want to capture the either there might either be a double quote or there might not be, but I just want to account for that. So I'm going to do brackets, and then it's going to be double quotes, close brackets, and then I'm going to put a star here, and then I'm going to close it, right? So you can see that it captures, so there might either be a double quotes or there might not be. So here, you might not be able to see it, but they are actually, there's for at least for this portion, there is a match, right? Because since we're using the star, we're telling it to find 0 or more instances of double quotes after our equal sign. And then we're going to do another we're going to do another set of alphanumeric values. And there we're going to, you can see that we've sort of selected everything that we have inside these values. And I'm going to put a hyphen here because not only do I want alphanumeric values, but I also want these hyphens, which I have here for my dates. And then I'm going to have, or rather, I'm going to sort of repeat the same thing for the double quotes, 0 or more. And basically, I've separated my entire string here, and I basically have different elements for it. And so we have the first element here. So element 1 is the spaces here, either it's a space or a space with a comma. Then we have our first word, right? So that is number 2. So then our third element is the space equal sign space. Our fourth element is going to be either nothing or double quotes, so it can be 0 or more. Then we have this second set of alphanumeric values, and then we have the closing double quotes or nothing as well. So really what we care about is number 2, and then we have 3, 4, and 5. So all we care about is 2 and 5. So based on this, we're going to construct the sort of the how we're going to be replacing all of these sort of other elements. So now what we can do is we can do open tag or less than symbol, and then we're going to do number 2, then number 5, and then slash number 2 again, and let's see if that works. And look at that. So you can see that we sort of replaced all of these different elements with XML tags. And then the last thing that's left to do is for the administrators, we are going to essentially we're going to have administrator references, and I'm going to select it here. I'm going to say ref, administrator ref, and then I'm just going to go to, I'm just going to try to find these in my text. So Abercrombie is I0, Farouk is I1, Harui is I2, and Kapoor is I3. Very convenient. So you can see how, obviously that was a lot of work for not that many records, but you can see that we can actually employ sort of the same concept for our other records. So and we might need to do some small adjustments. For example, if we want to capture these elements here, right? So and let's just call this I think these are enrollments. So let's just call this enrollment. Okay. So, to capture this, to capture these, and let's just go ahead and replace these, right? Because it'll just make it easier for us to do a replace. We can sort of take the same approach, and it does the same thing. And then you'll recall that we already had done one earlier, but instead of doing department, I'm going to do course. And for this one, we're just going to have to do a little bit of cleanup. Let's just kind of undo. And at least in this case, we have multiple tags, so that's going to require just a little bit more nuance. But at least, let's say we just want to do this. We just want to do this one, and let's just do enrollment, and for let's say for this, I don't have a semicolon at the end, so we can do kind of as we did before, and let's, instead of department, we're going to do enrollment here as well. And you can see how, you can like build a very sophisticated regular expression, and it'll sort of do the same thing. And then we can apply the one that we built earlier. It'll do sort of the same thing. And then let's do that here again. And basically, so it did everything for us for this last one. This second, or this courses one, this one's a little tricky because we have sort of elements inside. We have multiple instructor references. So let's say, let's just we'll be a bit more deliberate here, and let's just let's just get rid of these. So instructors is going to be just this, and we're going to put commas there. And I think for this one, which has two, I think I'm just going to put two spaces, or I'm going to put a space. And here, for the second term, I'm going to put a space. I'm going to allow a space as well. And actually, I think I'm just going to put I'm going to put a pipe, just to help, just to make it easier to delimit. Okay. So here I'm gonna do my replace, and you can see that sort of everything is in its respective area. I'm gonna apply my my initial replace here, but I'm going to do course, and then I'm going to do like I did before. I did course, or I'm going to do course in this scenario also. Replace. Okay. So here, we're almost there. I'm going to move these up just to give myself some space. And for the enrollments, I'm going to do the same. And then all we have left are the courses. So for these, and I think I'm going to, let me just get rid of those semicolons at the end. And again, this is, this is probably more involved than you'll deal with. I doubt that you'll be in a situation where you'll have to like take some code that was like, some data that was hardwired into code. You'll certainly, hopefully data is not as bad, or hard coded in this way where you have to do stuff like this. But in the case that you do, you kind of know how to proceed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to do a sort of formatting, and the way that I'm going to do this, and Visual Studio has a lot of features that allow us to format XML code. So I'm going to do Control K followed by Control D, and you're going to see the effect that has. So I'm going to do Control K and then Control D. And you can see that it basically arranged everything for us in this very neat way. But I'm still not done, because I have my instructors here, and instead of instructors, I want to call these instructor refs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select these these courses, and I'm going to do Control H because I just want to do this selection, and I'm going to type instructors, and I'm going to replace that with instructor refs. And in fact, I think what I'll do is I'm going to do a one last regular expression, and star, and then closing instructors. Okay, so I have everything sort of selected. So I'm going to do instructor refs, and then I'm going to do instructor ref, right? And then I'm going to do number 2, close out instructor ref, and then instructor, close out instructor refs. Okay? All right. So here's the thing. I have multiple, there are instances where I have multiple instructors. And at the very least, I need to have one for each. So within these instructor refs, I have a single instructor ref. So what I'm going to do is for this second one here, I'm going to put an instructor ref tag at the beginning, and then I'm going to close the one before. So you can see that we have this nested structure where we have multiple instructor ref tags inside of a parent instructor refs with a plural. And then, I'll do Control K, Control D once more, and you can see that it basically arranged everything for me. So once again, this was more of a sort of academic exercise. I'm going to move these over to the courses. And again, I don't expect you to have to do all this work for us to get the data in this form. It's more just so that we, have it in a, in a format where we can use it. So one thing that I wanted to make sure, just do do a sort of sanity check, and we have IDs for our instructors, for our departments. I actually don't think that we had any IDs. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a regular expression here as well. So in this case, it's there's no way for me to do to sort of natively increment digits. So I think what I'll do is in this selection, I'm just going to do Shift Tab. Then I'm going to replace all my new lines, and I'm going to replace them with nothing. I also need to do carriage return. Okay, so now you can see that department is all in a single line, but I don't want to just stop there. I want to replace department, and I want to put a new line and put department there as well in order to bring everything inside of, in a single line. So that again, I'm going to do ID and then double quotes, and then I'm going to do D0. Let me just kind of do the same thing I did before, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so and then Control K, Control D, and then it formats everything. All right. For these, engineering, let's go ahead and replace them, and we have these sort of references here, where Alexander, we have, these different sort of, these different departments, and, and there's, different things we can do, right? We can maybe just, instead of doing IDs, there's a variety of ways to do it, but let's just stick with the, with the sort of ID convention that we've come up with. And then for a department, engineering is D2. Then for economics is D3. Again, D3. Mathematics is D1. And again, you know, there's certainly easier ways to do this. D0 for English. Okay. So we have the courses, we have the title, and then the last thing we need is just to change these names. So Kapoor is I3. Let's find Kapoor. Okay, so that's the only instance. And one thing we can see here is, you know, so for example, course, you know, we have the course, but, you know, and for example, if we go to the course section, the course title is this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sort of replace or find replace, where if course equals, for example, chemistry, right? If we go back to what chemistry is called, I'm going to basically copy this, and then instead of saying course, I'm going to call this course ref. And so chemistry is going to be 1050. Okay, I'm going to repeat that, or I'm going to do that. So okay, so it did this replace. So I'm just basically going to repeat this operation for all of these other courses. For microeconomics, 4022. For macro, 4041. Okay, it doesn't look like there's a match, but that's fine. Let's see, for calculus, some people are taking calculus, so this is 1045, replace. Then next we have trigonometry, I think that's 3141. Next we have composition, and that is 2021. And we have literature, which is 2042. Okay, so I think oh, so this was macroeconomics was misspelled, composition. Okay, so I had some misspellings here. So let's try composition again, and then that's 2021. I think I just forgot to do the replace. Student ref, and then I got to do macro, and then 4041. Okay, so I think that's everything. So now I got to do a similar operation for the students, and for you know, basically instead of student, I'm gonna replace this. It's gonna be student ref, and it's gonna be S0. Okay, Alonzo will be S1, Anand will be S2, Barsh Dukas will be S3, Lee, Justice, S5, Norman, S6. Is Norman not there? I don't think he is. So we'll do Oliveto as S7. Doesn't look like Oliveto is anywhere. That's fine. Not all students are going to be reflected everywhere. And then we'll do for instructors. We have Abercrombie. Instead of instructor, it should be instructor ref. Very good. So Abercrombie is I0. Then we have Faruhi, I1, Harui, I2, Kapoor. Looks like I don't have Kapoor anywhere. I wonder if Kapoor is, yeah, no, they're nowhere in the file. And then Zhang is, okay. So I think our file is ready to go. Very good. Gonna save. Okay, now that I'm done with my seed file, which is in XML form, what I'm going to do is I am going to create something called a data transfer object classes, and that's what I'm going to use inside of my DB initializer class. So for now, I went ahead and I did a couple things. I cleared out the content of my DB initializer class just because I wanted to lay out how the DTO file was going to be incorporated into it. But then also, I also created this file, cdto, which I put under the data folder, and that is where I'm going to be storing my my DTO sort of schemas. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to import a library called XML serialization. So I'm going to say using system XML serialization. Okay. Now, in this file, we're going to have seven different entities. 6 being the 6 entities that we have created here for the course, for the models, the course, department, enrollment, instructor, office assignment, and student. But then also we're going to have like a parent class that is going to contain all of these other classes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the seed.dto class. Actually, let me just I'm going to write just the names, seed.dto. Then I'm going to put student.dto, instructor DTO. Let's see, and I'm just gonna put them in the order that I see them here. Course DTO, enrollment DTO. I have my instructor DTO up here, my office assignment DTO, and then I already have my student DTO. So all of these are going to be different classes that I'm going to be leveraging to define the structure of our seed file. So I'm going to put them in classes, and I'm going to say public class, and then each of these will be a set of classes. Let me just put a space between them, and then let me just put the ending curly brace at the end. So I'm just gonna copy these because I'm gonna need these descriptors later, and let me just do this. Now I first I'm gonna define the objects that I'm gonna be using here. So these all are going to be these are all going to have lists of these various DTOs. So I'm going to say list course DTO, and I'm just going to put some space at the end here because I'm going to be relying on these names later. Let me just copy over these names, and I do Alt and click drag, and then I paste. Okay. Now I'm not going to use the DTO name. I'm just going to call this courses, or I'm going to put them in their plural tense, and then I'm also going to use I'm going to put getters and setters at the end of all these, and then I'm gonna end all of these with an equal new, because they're going to be new objects that that I'm going to keep in here. Now let me just I'm just going to go ahead and format my file. I'm going to do Control K, Control F. Let's see. I'm going to select all, Control K, Control F, and okay, yeah, that works. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set some decorators for each of these, and basically what these decorators are going to do is that they're going to define that within our seed object we have students, and then within each student we have a student. So I'll do two things. I'll do one thing sort of from the get-go, and that is that I'm going to define my root object for my XML file, and that is seed. So whatever this object is here, that's going to be my root object. Okay. Now I'm going to put my decorators in front of my my classes here, and they're going to have I'm going to have an XML array, and then I'm going to have an XML array item, and then I'm going to put the names there for each of them, and the names that I'm going to use are going to be these labels. So I'm going to put double quotes, and then I'm going to have these be in plural. So these are going to be courses, enrollments, instructors, office assignments, and students. And then over here, I do control. The way I move around is I do control arrow, and now I'm here, and then I'm going to put my double quotes, and then I'm going to paste again, and then I'm just going to have the singular version of this of the objects. So maybe I want to do a little bit of formatting. Actually, I can probably just I'll just format it like I did before. I'm just gonna Control A, Control K, Control F, and I think I'll just put them in separate lines. Okay, so we've set these up, and we're ready to go for actually defining what each of these different DTOs for each of these items will actually look like. So let's begin with the course DTO, and I'm just going to borrow from my my seed file here, and I see that I have these elements: course ID, title, credits, department references, instructor references, and so forth. So these are what are going to be going into my seed DTO file. So I'm going to just use these sort of as a template, and what I'll do, just move these over, and then for these, I'll just delete the sort of the end tag, because I really only need the initial tag. Let me do that on this side first, and I'll just get rid of these because I only need that child element. So I'll delete that, and then whatever is inside the tag, delete. Okay, and then I also have the instructor references, and then within each of those there's going to be a string, right? And that we're going to basically do the same thing we did here, where we have a list, and that's going to be a list of strings, which are the instructor references. So all of these are going to be public. Course ID is going to be an integer followed by a string. We have integers for credits. The department reference is going to be a string. And then the instructor references is going to be a list of strings. Oops. Okay. Then over here, I'm going to have my I'm going to reference the instructor ref in the same way that I did earlier. I'm just going to add my decorator, but for the array it's going to be instructor references. Then for the item is going to be ref for students. So let me just going to move these over, and then I'm going to put my getters and my setters, and then for my strings, they're going to be I'm going to put an empty string, because remember that strings are they are reference values, and they cannot hold null. They only can reference places in memory. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to be using the new this new value here. Okay, so we're done with courses, and the next one that we're going to work on is the enrollment DTO. So I'm going to once again, I'm going to rely on the objects here inside of my enrollment tag, and I'm going to put them here. Okay. I'm going to delete that second tag as well as the content because I don't need them, and then delete those. Okay. So these are going to be they're not going to all be strings, but I'm just kind of putting them there for ease of setting everything up. Okay, and then now for the course reference, because remember that the course is an integer, this needs to be an integer as well. So this is let's terminate these lines with a semicolon and fix that. And then one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have my grade. I think I'm going to have the null conditional operator here, or rather the null forgiving operator, so that if grade happens to be null, which I anticipate that it could be, because we remember that if we look at grades, let's see. The point is that these can be empty, and we can expect them to be. So I'm just going to have it accept that this might be, at some point, this might be null. Okay. Next, we're going to add the instructor DTO, and for these are going to be we're going to have different elements here again from the instructor's tag, but we also we need to include another element, and let me just fix that, and we need to include the ID element. Okay, and that's because you'll notice that we have IDs here as properties that we are going to need to assign. So I'm going to put public string. I know hire date is not going to be a string. I'm just setting it up. This is going to be date time, and it's not going to have this value. Okay, now here I need to set XML attribute of ID. So that's how I'm telling. I'm going to tell the DB initializer that ID is going to be, as in this property here for ID, is going to be the identifier for instructors. Then let's go to Office assignment, and we have instructor references or instructor reference and the location. Okay. Let's change this up, and then delete the tags. So both of these are going to be string. I'm going to put my getter and my setter, and both are going to be empty strings. And then lastly, we're going to have our student DTO. Let's go over here to our students, and just like we did for instructor, we're going to need to set up an ID attribute. So just going to do that. Then I'll delete the second tag, and then I'm going to put another item here, which is going to be ID. So these first, enrollment date obviously is going to be date time. I'm just going to just set it up to save some time. Getters and setters, and then I'm going to make this equal to an empty string, except for my enrollment date, which is going to be of the date time data type. Okay, so we've set up our DTO, and we are ready to move on to our DB initializer. So here we're going to have most of the elements most of the libraries that we used before, except with some exceptions for being able to read XML files. So we're going to include these. I'm going to include my Contoso University models. I'm going to include the link library. I'm going to include the system.xml library, and then I'm going to include the serialization library for under XML. Okay, and then I'm just going to set up the namespace, Contoso University data. Okay, and then I'm going to set up my class, and this is going to be the public static class DB initializer, and then Inside our DB initializer, we are going to have two methods. The first one is going to be called initialize, and then the second one is going to be called load seed. So let's set up that first one. Public static void initialize, and then this is going to take in the context, school context, and then it's also going to take a string called XML path, and here is where my seed file is going to reside. So what I'll do here is I'm going to right click my seed.xml file, and then I'm going to copy the full path. I'm going to paste it in here. Okay, and by the way, include this ampersand at the beginning so that you don't have to escape these slashes. It'll just it'll just read it as a raw string. Okay, so we have our initialize method, and then the next method that we're going to need is the public for the load seed method, and what that is going to return is the seed DTO object, an object of that particular class. So I'm going to call it load seed, and this is going to take a path. Okay. So I think the first thing I want to do, I just want to set up I just want to set up everything. Yeah, at least for I want to be able to make sure that I am reading the seed file correctly. So I'm just going to work on this one first, and we'll go from there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to implement the serialization object, or the serializer object, and then this is going to be new XML serializer, and this is going to be of type seed DTO. Next, I'm going to set up the XML reader, which is actually going to be reading the XML file. And for this one, I'm going to be using the using keyword, because this is going to read the file. And by using this keyword, what it does is that it reads the file, and as soon as it's done reading it, it's going to close out the file, so that if something happens and as we're reading the file, it's not going to lock out the file later on. So by using this keyword, we limit the amount of time that we have to be reading this file. So I'm going to call this, so this is going to be a variable, and I'm going to call it reader, and this is going to have XML reader create, and then I'm going to have path. And something I'm going to do is I'm going to have an object called stg for settings, and here is where my settings for this reader are going to reside. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to say new XML reader settings, and this is going to have several parameters. First one is ignore comments. I'm going to set that to true. It looks like I deleted my ignore comments to true. Next, I'm going to have this other parameter called ignore processing instructions. Okay. And then I'm going to terminate that line. Okay. So just because whenever you're reading from a file, things can fail, we should use a try catch block. So we'll do try and then catch, and then here I'm going to put invalid operation exception, and I'm going to name it EX. Okay, so if it's successful, I'm going to return the serialized object, and then I'm going to deserialize it based on the content of reader, but I need to cast it to the seed DTO type, because that is what I'm returning from the load seed method. The next thing is, if there is an error, I'm basically gonna throw this invalid operation exception, where I'm gonna say throw new invalid operation exception, and here I'm gonna call this actually no, I think actually yeah, let's call this message, and I'm going to put X, and then here I'm going to put my message, and here I'm just going to use string interpolation, and let's just say failed to deserialize this path, and then I'm going to put information about the error, exception, inner exception. If it exists, again, we're going to say message, and if it doesn't exist, I'm just going to show message. Okay. Let's see. String message. Okay. So here, I've basically I've instantiated it, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have this be a null conditional. Let's see. It might be null. No, that does not work. Nope. Okay, that's fine. I'll leave it as is. So now we are ready to sort of retrofit the logic that we had in our initialize method to be able to read the XML file. So here I'm going to have my first line here, which is if let's just say students, if the students table has any elements, I'm just going to return. Okay, that's just going to prevent me from loading data again, sort of, repeatedly from our seed file. Then I'm gonna say var seed, and you can see that I'm using var a lot. We can we can actually name these what they are. We don't have to abuse the var type. And for this one, this is going to be a seed DTO, so let's call it what it is. And I'm going to say load seed path, or XML path. Okay. So if it passes the, or if there are no students in the students table, then it's going to move on and it's going to read the file. So something I want to do is I think I want to write console write line, and I'm just going to put like pause here, and I want to test it just to make sure that it is it's actually pulling the file. So it's not going to, it should just stop here. Okay, so in the seed file here, let's see. Oh, it's because I do have students in my in my table, so that's why it actually didn't work. Let me go in here to my SQL Server Object Explorer, and I'm just gonna empty out my tables here. It probably would be easier for me to just you know, if I just like did like a drop database and you know, and then I, you know, if I drop database and then I updated it based on the migration, that'd probably be easier. I think that's what I'll do. I'm gonna go to terminal. Let's see. Actually, yeah. So I'm gonna expand that, and I'm gonna drop the database. Yes. Okay. And then I'm going to update it. Perfect. So now, when I run this again, it should get to this pause. I should have said pause and not pod. All right. Okay, so we're there. Okay. So you can see that we have our seed object here, and I'm just going to expand on this, and you can see that we have our different objects here. So we have 7. Let's look over here. You know, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 7. Okay, so yeah, so that matches, and we can see that our load seed method is actually reading our file correctly. Okay, close that out, and then I'm gonna get rid of this breakpoint. I'm gonna get rid of this pause here. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to I think I'm gonna copy this over here, just because it's gonna help me set some of this up. Let me just delete that. Triple click, delete. Okay. So let me just delete that. And basically, I'm going to leverage all these different objects for me to set up essentially a number of dictionaries. So let's instead of course DTO, I'm going to have these be course dictionaries. And let me delete that, or delete the end of these files. And here are gonna, you know, basically I'm gonna be going through the seed object. So I'm gonna say seed, and then I'm gonna paste all of this. But instead of the, you know, essentially these are all going to have, I'm basically referencing these objects: student, instructors, office assignments, departments, and courses, and so forth. Okay, so the data type for these, this is going to be a dictionary. Let's see. Yep. And then this is, I'm gonna put these to dictionary. Okay, let's see. I think I need to, I need to use the generic data or library. Students to dictionary. Let's see what's going on. Oh, so this let me put these in lowercase, enrollments, instructors, office assignments, and students. I wonder if I just need to set it up like that. No. Okay. And then let me just do, I'm going to say X ID. So some of them are going to have the ID tag, as you can see, for example, the instructors and the students, if I can just spell it correctly, but not the other ones. And actually, the order of these is going to matter because there's going to be some elements that rely on others. So, for example, course is going to rely on the the students are going to be relying on the on only the first name, last name, and enrollment date. If we go over here, yes, first name, last name, and enrollment date. But the courses are going to rely on the instructors and the departments. So I need to put the instructors at the very beginning, as well as the students. Then I'm going to see for courses are going to rely on the department existing and on the instructors existing. So departments, let's see, did I not include departments? It doesn't look like I did. Let's see. I might have forgotten to add a department object. Yeah, it looks like I did. So let's add it. Let's go ahead and add it. Department DTO. And then here, let's see. Yes, so for department, this is going to be, I'm just going to copy that, and basically it's going to have the name. Let me just delete those last ones. Okay. Delete that last tag. Okay. So public string name. So budget will be an integer. Start date will be date time. And then administrator ref, that should be a string. And and because department has an ID, I also need to include the ID. Okay. Let's see. I think, yeah, it'll be a string, and then I need to put my XML attribute, and I'm going to call that ID. Okay. So let's go ahead and add the getters and setters. And then we'll put empty strings at the end of each of these. String, string, okay. Okay, now I can move on and include my department. And department is, like we mentioned, is going to rely on instructors existing, because administrators or instructors are going to be administrators, So that needs to go after the instructor. So let's put that in there. Dictionary, department, and then we'll call this departments. Okay. Departments. Let's see. So we have departments. It's a dictionary. I have my department here, so it should have read this object. So let me rebuild. I think it's because it doesn't. Maybe it just doesn't see that I added the department object. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we still got some things to resolve, so we're not done here. That's fine. We can dismiss those errors. Let's put dictionary. I'm sorry, not dictionary. Department. Departments. Okay. I think I'm just gonna move forward for now, because I think some of these are gonna get resolved as we move forward. So, for the department, or excuse me, for the instructor, we're gonna take in several objects, right? So, here we're gonna have the ID, but we're also gonna have the instructor. And this is going to contain the first name, which is going to come from the first name, or from inside X. And you can label these whatever you prefer. These can be instead of X, you can put I for instructor, whatever the case may be. That's fine. These are just sort of internal references inside of these objects. We're going to put last name, and then we're going to put hire date. Okay. And I think here, let's see what's going on. Okay, it doesn't look. It doesn't look. Oh, because I don't have the collections class. Okay, I already have it, or I already entered it. Let's see. Let's do var. Let's see if that works. Just because sometimes these data types they might not be obvious from the get-go. This is going to be let me just do a dictionary, and then I'm going to do a string, and then I'm going to use the data type instructor. Okay, yeah, that's what I needed to do. Perfect. And keep in mind, you can save yourself this whole hassle by just doing var. I like to do this because it's more explicit. So it's it'll depend on you, your personal preference, and but more importantly, the requirements of wherever it is that you're working. Okay. The next one we're gonna do is gonna be string, and this is gonna be students or student. And in here we're going to have, just like with instructor, we're going to put new student rather, in singular. And then we're going to have the first name. We're going to have the last name. and then we're going to have the enrollment date. Excellent. Okay. So we have the instructor, we have the student dictionary, and let's do the department. And let's see if we can sort of resolve this issue here. So string, and then department. Okay. And then here, I wonder, like, did I misspell it? Departments with plural. That is odd. And then I also have my department DTO. You know what I did? I forgot to include it in here in my seed DTO sort of main class. So I'm going to put department and then department singular, department DTO, and then departments. Okay. So this is going to be department. Okay. So we're ready to move forward. And we're going to put for department, this is going to be so here's the issue. Departments can have null administrators. So let's just set up the we'll set up the sort of this object here first, which is where we're going to be returning our class for or our object for our department, and we're going to say return new department, and we're going to have the name, X name, very good. Then that we're going to have the budget. Okay. We're going to have the start date. And then we're going to have administrator. And I'm just going to call that admin because that does not exist yet. So I'm going to create a variable. Let me just put that there. I'm going to create a variable for instructor called admin, and this is going to be null. Now I need to try to get, because remember that for departments we have the administrator reference. Okay, so that's what's going to allow us to retrieve the administrator object, which is going to come from the instructor dictionary. So here what we're going to do is, let's see, there might be several ways to do this. Okay, so one way we can do this is we're going to create this, actually we're going to do it all in a single line, and we're going to say if D administrator, or not D, I'm sorry, not for department administrator, if administrator ref, if it is not null or white space, and the instructor dictionary contains key administrator ref, if all that is true, then we're going to retrieve the value instructor dictionary. Actually, let's use get value or default, and then we're going to say administrator ref. Otherwise, actually, yeah, it's gonna, that works. No, actually, I can probably do it more simply. And then if that is not true, then I'm going to get a null value. Okay, so a little bit of a on the longer side, but basically our admin, and we can actually just put it over here. You know, I just wanted to maybe separate it to make it a bit more explicit. And let me just put it like that. Okay, so let's see. Let's try that. Try get value. No, that's fine. So basically, if administrator reference is not null and the instructor dictionary contains this administrator reference, then we're going to get the value from the administrator from the instructor dictionary using the administrator reference, or we're going to return null. Okay, and then we're going to we can close that out. Okay, so we're done with our department, and now we can go to courses. For courses, course dictionary, this is going to be string course. Okay, and then for course, we're going to have to do something similar, but we're kind of going to see how that works. Just because, let's see, we have we're going to have enrollments here. Okay. And just and really, because courses are going to rely on, or rather enrollments are going to rely on courses, so this it kind of causes a sort of chicken and egg type of problem, but we'll address that as we move forward. And we don't have ID, we have course ID in our course object, and then we're going to say new course, and this is going to be course ID equals course ID. Then we're going to have title, then credits, then department, and for this one we're just going to assume that department already exists. Dictionary, department ref. Let's see. And then we're going to have instructors, and this is just going to be an empty list of instructors. Let's see. Oh, it might be because it's integer. Yes. Okay. So basically, we're going to have to go back. We're going to have to populate. Actually, I wonder if we can just do that here. So let's say, so we have this code block here, and we're going to return this, right? So functionally, it is the same as if we just put this whole string up in here. So I'm going to create a list of instructors. instructor list. But I'm going to have this be null. Actually, new. Okay, so I'm going to call the constructor, and then I'm going to populate that later. Then for let's see. I'm going to have instructor references inside of my course, right? Yeah, so I can have multiple individual instructor reference objects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if if instructor, let me just put that. Let me put this here, and if the instructor refs is not null, then I'm going to proceed. Okay, then I'm going to iterate through all the instructor refs for each instructor DTO, instructor ref, in instructor refs. Is that right? Oh, I think it's a string. Yes, so instructor ref is a string, and I'm going to say instructor list add, and then I'm going to say I'm basically going to get the instructors pulled in here. So instructor dictionary, and then I'm going to use the instructor ref. Okay. So basically, I'm populating, depending on the instructor references inside of course, I'm going to iterate through all of them, assuming they are not null, and I'm going to populate this list, which is going to contain our instructors. And that should match what we have here, where instructor is just strings. Okay, perfect. And then let me just move this over. And now I'm going to go ahead and create the enrollment dictionary. So there's going to be a string, I believe, although I might need to get corrected on that later, but enrollment. Okay. And we're going to repeat the same operation. Okay, let's see. For enrollment, we don't have ID, but we do have, let's see, we do have student references. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to return the let's see. I'm going to return the enrollment. So I'm going to create an object called new enrollment, and basically Okay, so we'll do a loop, and we're gonna say for each enrollment in seed enrollments. Actually, that's okay. I think I know what's happening. I need to iterate through my enrollments in my seed object before I even set this up. So for enrollment, I'm gonna have to do something different. So I'm just gonna keep this down here for now. But for enrollment, I'm gonna iterate. I'm gonna do a for loop for each enrollment DTO enrollment in seed enrollments. Okay. And then over here, I'm going to say, I'm going to create an enrollment called variable, enrollment, let's call it enrollment entry. Then I'm going to say enrollment, new enrollment, and this is going to have student, and then I'm going to pull from the student dictionary. And this is going to be, actually, let me call this E for just to make things easier. E student ref. Then course dictionary, course ref, yes. And then for grade, that is going to be, we're going to do a sort of null conditional operator sort of structure here like we did before with our administrator. And we're going to say if grade is not null, so if string is null or white space, if that is not null or white space, and because remember that if we go to the if we look at enrollment, remember that grade is populated by the grade enum, so we have to use this the enum try-parse method. So we're going to say enum try-parse, and then we're going to have grade, and then if let's say, actually I might have to have this separate. So let's set up a grade variable that might be null. And then if that is true, and this is going to be grade, and if it is true, we're going to output to a variable called, let's call it G, out grade G. Okay. And then we're going to assign G to grade, and then we're going to put grade here. And then we are going to add we're going to add the enrollment to the enrollments table inside of our context. So I'm going to say context enrollments add enrollment. Very good. And I think I want to leave that. I'm going to leave that sort of to the end because I want to do the office assignments kind of before that. And I think for instructor assignments, let's see. Oh, so instructor assignments, or excuse me, office assignments has instructor references and location. So I'm going to need to, let's see. I might need to do something similar to this. So I'm going to say for each office assignment DTO, O in seat office assignment. Okay. And here I'm gonna basically I'm just gonna go ahead and create the office assignment. Actually, I should be able to just do it like before. Let's do dictionary, just because I don't believe, so these are just sort of single, you know, they don't have, you know, they don't have nested values. So let's do dictionary, and then we're going to have this be in, we're going to have this be a string. Oh, no, actually, no, this is not going to work because we don't have an ID for office assignment. So let's do for each office assignment DTO, office assignments, and then we're going to create the office assignment object. New office assignment. And then we're going to say instructor, and this is basically, we're going to pull from the instructor dictionary. Dictionary. Oh, instructor reference. Very good. Let's see. Instructor dictionary. Okay, I just had a typo. Okay, and then location. Oh, location. And then we're gonna just add to the office assignments table. Perfect. Now, one thing I want to do is over here for the different dictionaries that I set up, I want to add them, and but I want to add them before I add these. So I'm going to say context add range, and I'm just going to add them in the order that I put them. Instructor dictionary. Okay, I'm just going to put like 3. So I might need 4. Student, department, and course dictionary. Okay. And then at the end of all this, I'm going to do context save changes, which is what's going to commit everything to the database. Let me save, and before and I think just over here, what I'll do, I'm just going to do return, because so this code is basically going to be inaccessible. So I just want to be able to see it without any data. Let's see what's going on. Departments. Oh, I think okay. Put a double curly brace. Okay, so if I go to student, let's see, no, nothing there. Okay, so we can see that it is empty. Departments, we'll implement that later, but for now, we're just worried about students, courses, and instructors. Okay, so we're going to let that through, and we're going to populate our data. Or we're going to populate our database with our data. Let's see what's going on here. So an item with the same key has already been, let's see. So student dictionary. Let's see. Okay, I know what I did wrong. I should have been, instead of the dictionary, I should have added the values. Okay. I also had to mark this ID under student DTO as the ID. So that should fix it. Let's just rebuild. So, okay, so we can see that our data is entered. Let's try to delete one of the professors. Okay. And yeah. Okay, so we can see how we can load data through an XML file, which is certainly preferable. You know, obviously you'd have to do a bit of work ahead of time for the, you know, when working with DTOs, but this is certainly a great way to test your application by introducing maybe dummy data that might have different characteristics, and you don't have to keep, you know, you don't have to go into the code and recompile it. You can just set this up from the outside, and then that'll, you know, you can import that into your database. This concludes our lecture. In this lesson, we discussed and implemented the various tutorials in the Contoso University application. We implemented all but the last of these. We implemented features for data migration, data modeling, in order for us to model the various entities. We worked on reading and updating related data, as well as working on a feature that allowed us to seed data into the database through an XML file. As always, please reach out with any questions, comments, or concerns that you might have. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.